The bitter wind swept across the castle battlements, carrying with it the accumulated snow, and cutting through one's cheeks like tiny daggers. If you dare to jump, I shall exterminate your entire family. Murong Han clutched the delicate Shumei Liu Ruyan tightly in his arms, his scarlet eyes fixed upon me with a gaze so venomous it could freeze blood, his words striking my heart like an ice-tempered blade. I stood at the precipice of the tower. Beneath me yawned an abyss of 10,000 fathoms. The fierce wind caught my flowing plain robes, making them snap and flutter like battle standards. In my arms, I held a cold, swaddling cloth containing my 6-month-old son, Jinnah. Merely 3 hours ago, Jinnah had been gurgling and laughing in my embrace, but now he lay still and breathless. The court physician diagnosed Crane's crest red poisoning, and the very bowl of calming soup that had claimed my child's life had been personally delivered by Liu Ruyan's own hands. When I confronted Murong Han with the poisoned vessel, Liu Ruyan threw herself to the ground in theatrical despair, tears streaming down her face like a spring shower. Elder sister, I didn't. How could I possibly harm Jinnah? Surely you are mistaken. Perhaps your own negligence is to blame, and now you seek to pin the fault on me. Murong Han didn't grant me a single word in my defense. He shoved me roughly to the ground and thundered. Looking upon this despicable pair, I felt as though my very organs were ablaze. For 3 years, I, Qingcheng, had managed Prince Jing's household, navigated the treacherous waters of palace intrigue, and nearly sacrificed my life, bearing his heir. Yet in his eyes, I had become nothing more than a vindictive harpy weaving false accusations. Murong Han, my voice came out raw and hoarse, my knuckles white as I clutched the swaddling cloth. Jinnah is your own flesh and blood. How can you so readily trust an outsider over me? An outsider. Murong Han's laugh was bitter as winter frost. He tenderly stroked Liu Ruyan's hair whilst his voice turned glacial. Ruyan is my sworn sister raised alongside me since childhood. I know her character better than anyone, but you, Qingcheng, you come from humble origins, and were it not for my elevation, you'd never have achieved your position as Princess Jing. Don't think I am blind to your resentment that I never gave you a grand wedding ceremony, deliberately targeting Ruyan out of spite. Humble origins, resentment over lacking a grand wedding. I couldn't help but laugh, a sound so hollow and bitter it echoed across the empty battlements, startling distant ravens into flight. Indeed, to all appearances, I, Qingcheng, was of lowly birth, a woman Murong Han had met during his modest beginnings. When he received his princely title, he brought me to his mansion as his princess, though without the elaborate ceremonies, making me the subject of whispered mockery throughout the capital. But what they didn't know was that my true identity bore no resemblance to some common woman. I was the young master of the hidden sect Nether Valley. Years ago, during my mountain training, I encountered the wounded and hunted Murong Han. In a moment of misplaced compassion, I saved him, only to be deceived by his honeyed words. I lost my heart, willingly concealing my identity to share his hardships and struggles. I had believed true hearts could meet true hearts, never imagining I'd receive betrayal and my child's brutal murder in return. Liu Ruyan nestled against Murong Han's chest, stealing glances at me with eyes full of malicious triumph. She had long envied my position as Princess Jing, resented the affection Murong Han had once shown me, and schemed relentlessly to destroy me. Finally, she had achieved her heart's desire: kneel and confess. Seeing my failure to submit indeed, my bitter laughter, Murong Han's fury blazed hotter. He reached out to seize me. I stepped backwards, half my body now suspended over empty air, the wind below howling like hungry demons ready to devour me whole. Murong Han, you want my confession? I gazed down at the cold bundle in my arms, tears finally spilling over to fall upon Jinner's pallid little face. Only if Jinner can return to life, otherwise, I, Qingcheng, would rather die than bow before my child's murderer. You wouldn't dare. Murong Han's complexion turned ashen. He hadn't expected such absolute resolve. Qingcheng, remember your Gu family relatives. If you leap from this tower, I'll order their immediate execution. The Gu family, how droll. This supposed Gu family was merely a common farming household. I'd arranged to maintain my false identity. I'd paid them handsomely to play their parts, and they'd long since taken the money and vanished to live comfortable lives elsewhere. For Murong Han to threaten me with this fabrication was beyond laughable. I raised my head, meeting his gaze with perfect composure, my voice carrying both liberation and finality. Murong Han, you think a fictitious family can threaten me. How naive today. I fall not from fear of you, but because my heart has died with Jinnah. I have nothing left to bind me to this world. I paused, my gaze sweeping over their embracing figures with withering contempt. As for you and Liu Ruyan, the debts you owe me, the debts you owe Jinner, even if I become a vengeful spirit, I shall never forgive either of you. Without another glance at Murong Han's thunderstruck expression, or Liu Ruyan's panic-stricken face, I clutched Jinner close and leaped into the void. The wind screamed past my ears as my body plummeted, life ebbing swiftly away. Yet I felt no fear, only an overwhelming sense of release. Murong Han, Liu Ruyan, wait for me. Qingcheng will return, and when she does, you'll pay the most terrible price for today's deeds. Your Highness, the princess has jumped. A guard's frantic voice. Murong Han rushed to the tower's edge, peering down into swirling white mist and sheer cliff faces. No trace of Qingcheng remained. His heart felt crushed by an invisible fist, the pain stealing his breath. Qingcheng's serene yet resolute expression, her final words dripping with scorn, played endlessly in his mind. Liu Ruyan rushed to support him, her voice honey-sweet with false comfort. Your Highness, please don't grieve. Qingcheng was stubborn and chose her own destruction. It was her fate. You still have me, and I'll always be by your side. But Murong Han couldn't process Liu Ruyan's words. His mind flooded with memories of Qingcheng's devotion, nursing him through illness, personally sewing his battle robes whilst awaiting his return from war, solving problems when he faced difficulties. He'd always assumed Qingcheng couldn't live without him. Even with his favoritism toward Liu Ruyan, his coldness toward her, he'd believed she'd always remain. He never imagined she possessed such iron resolve that rather than bow before him, she'd choose death itself. I must find her. Murong Han shoved Liu Ruyan aside, shouting orders. Dead or alive, I want her found. Send men down immediately. The princess must be located. The guards dared not delay, rushing to comply. But with treacherous cliffs below shrouded in thick mist, finding someone who'd fallen was near impossible. Liu Ruyan watched Murong Han's desperate anxiety with growing unease. She hadn't expected Qingcheng to be so ruthless, willing to sacrifice her own life. Still, perhaps this was for the best. With Qingcheng dead, the position of Princess Jing would be entirely hers. Yet something felt wrong. Qingcheng's serene smile as she fell had been deeply unsettling. At that moment, I hadn't died. Just as I was about to strike the ground, a figure in azure robes flashed like lightning, catching both Jinner and me safely, then leaping across several precipices to reach level ground at the cliff's base. Young master, the azure-clad figure knelt on one knee, voice respectful yet concerned. Are you unharmed? I slowly opened my eyes, recognizing the familiar face, and smiled weakly. "Darkshade, it is you." Darkshade was one of Nether Valley's guards, and my personal attendant. When I'd descended the mountain, Master had sent him secretly to protect me, worried for my safety. I'd been so absorbed in my romance with Murong Han that I'd ordered Darkshade to remain hidden unless I summoned him directly. When I leaped, knowing death was certain, I'd used Nether Valley's secret technique to call him, and miraculously, he'd arrived in time. "I am fine." I gazed down at Jinnah, tears welling again, my voice breaking. "But Jinnah is gone." Darkshade followed my gaze to the swaddling cloth, seeing Jinnah's pale little face, his expression turning thunderous. "Young Master, was this the work of the prince and that woman?" Not only did Murong Han refuse to believe me, he demanded I apologize to her, even threatening me with the fake Giu family. Outrageous. Darkshade leaped up, killer intent radiating from him. "The prince is utterly heartless, that woman purely evil. I'll kill them both immediately and avenge the young prince." "Wait," I raised a hand to stop him, shaking my head. "Now isn't the time. Murong Han is a prince with noble status and numerous guards. You'd only alert them by acting rashly. Besides, I don't want them simply dead. I want them utterly ruined, suffering as I've suffered, paying the most terrible price for Jinnah's death." My tone was calm, but the chill in my eyes made even Darkshade shiver. Knew his young master was truly enraged. The prince and Liu Ruyan were in for unspeakable torment. "What are your orders, young master?" Darkshade asked. "Return to Nether Valley first," I replied. "I need healing and the sect's resources. Once I've recovered, I'll return to the capital and make everyone who wronged me pay dearly." Darkshade nodded. "Yes, young master, I'll escort you home immediately." Darkshade carefully lifted me, protectively cradling Jinnah's bundle, and flew toward Nether Valley using his lightness technique. Nether Valley nestled deep within endless mountain ranges, treacherous terrain cut off from the world, filled with spiritual energy perfect for cultivation. Upon my return, Master was heartbroken learning of my ordeal. He personally tended my injuries and arranged Jinnah's burial in a peaceful peach grove within the valley. I spent 3 months in meditation, not only fully recovering, but breaking through previous limitations to reach heights rarely achieved by Nether Valley's masters. Simultaneously, I began studying sect management and political strategy. Previously, I'd willingly played the naive little woman for Murong Han's sake. Now, to reclaim everything stolen from me, I had to become truly powerful. 3 months later, I emerged from seclusion. Master presented me with a jade pendant bearing Nether Valley's seal. His voice solemn. "Qingcheng, from this day forward, you are Nether Valley's official valley master. All our resources are at your disposal. Do what you must. Master will always be your strongest support." I accepted the pendant and kowtowed 3 times. "Thank you, Master. I won't disappoint your expectations." Before leaving Nether Valley, I altered my appearance. No longer the gentle, delicate Qingcheng. I became a woman with refined beauty, cool temperament, and subtle aloofness. I chose a new name, Yunshu. With this fresh identity, I would return to the capital and unleash a storm. For 3 months, Murong Han had sent countless searchers to scour the cliff base, yet found no trace of Qingcheng, not even a scrap of evidence. His mood grew increasingly volatile and uneasy. He began suffering frequent nightmares where Qingcheng appeared bloodied, holding Jinnah, demanding to know why he hadn't believed her, why he'd killed their child. Liu Ruyan watched his deterioration with growing anxiety, constantly attending him and trying various methods to lift his spirits. Yet Murong Han grew ever colder toward her, sometimes instinctively avoiding her presence. He suspected Qingcheng's death somehow involved Liu Ruyan, especially after discovering traces of Crane's crest red residue in her chambers. He simply refused to accept this reality, preferring to believe Qingcheng had truly chosen self-destruction, rather than admit he'd been deceived by Liu Ruyan into personally destroying his wife and child. One day, news spread through the capital of a mysterious female physician named Yun Shu. Her medical skills were extraordinary, capable of treating incurable diseases and even raising the dead. Numerous nobles competed for her services. Liu Ruyan had been anxious about Murong Han's attitude and terrified that Qingcheng might return for revenge, leaving her increasingly unwell and weak. Hearing this news, she immediately sent servants to invite Yun Shu to Prince Jing's mansion. Her calculations were simple. If this Yun Shu truly possessed miraculous healing abilities and could cure her ailments, excellent. If not, she could blame her deteriorating health on Yun Shu's incompetence and gain Murong Han's sympathy. When I learned Liu Ruyan had sent for me, my lips curved in an icy smile. Liu Ruyan, we meet again. This time I'll show you what living hell truly means. I followed Prince Jing's servants into the mansion, where I'd spent 3 years, viewing familiar pavilions and gardens, recalling everything that had transpired here. My heart held no emotion save infinite coldness and hatred. Liu Ruyan sat in the main hall's place of honor. Seeing me enter, she appraised me from head to toe, noticing my refined beauty and cool demeanor. Jealousy flashed in her eyes before being quickly masked by a fragile expression. Miss Yun Shu, thank goodness you've come. I've been feeling unwell lately, please examine me. I said nothing, simply approaching to check her pulse. After a moment I withdrew my hand, my tone flat. Miss Liu has no serious ailment, merely mental distress from excessive worry. Excessive worry? Liu Ruyan feigned surprise. I don't understand what is wrong with me. Lately, I can't sleep, feeling as though something terrible will happen. And whenever I close my eyes, I dream of Sister Qingcheng. Her eyes reddened as she spoke, her voice choking. I know Sister Qingcheng's death is largely my fault. If I hadn't failed to explain properly back then, His Highness wouldn't have misunderstood her, and she wouldn't have despaired enough to jump. I feel so guilty. These words seemed genuinely heartfelt. Anyone uninformed might truly be moved, but I knew perfectly well she was performing, whitewashing her crimes. I laughed coldly, my tone dripping with mockery. Miss Liu certainly displays deep sisterly affection. However, your pulse reveals not only excessive worry, but traces of poisoning. This isn't from external sources, but from prolonged consumption of chronic poison. Liu Ruyan's complexion changed dramatically, her eyes filling with panic. Poison, miss. Surely you are mistaken. How could I possibly be poisoned? Whether I am mistaken, Miss Liu knows better than anyone. My voice remained calm, yet carried undeniable authority. This chronic poison, when consumed regularly, gradually weakens the victim, causes mental distress, and ultimately leads to slow death. Moreover, such poison is rarely found in markets. Only certain hidden sects or great families possess it. My words made Liu Ruyan's face even paler. She had indeed been taking chronic poison purchased from a mysterious figure, intending to feign illness for Murong Han's sympathy, whilst potentially framing any returning Qingcheng. She hadn't expected this Yun Shu to see through everything immediately. I haven't. When his gaze fell upon me, his pupils contracted sharply, and his steps halted. Though this woman's appearance differed from Qingcheng's, those eyes, that cool temperament, stirred inexplicable familiarity, as if he'd encountered them somewhere before. Your Highness. Seeing Murong Han. Murong Han frowned, looking at me with displeasure. Miss Liu Ruyan has a kind heart. How could she harm herself in such a manner? Perhaps you've misdiagnosed. Always the same pattern. Regardless of circumstances, he invariably believed Liu Ruyan first and suspected everyone else. I sneered inwardly whilst maintaining external composure. Your Highness, physicians hold life sacred. I wouldn't jest about a patient's condition. Whether Miss Liu is poisoned can be easily verified by testing her blood. If your Highness doubts my assessment, please summon other court physicians for confirmation. Murong Han hesitated. Though reluctant to believe Liu Ruyan would consume poison, Yunshu's confidence gave him pause. Very well, let's test it. Murong Han finally decided. Guards, summon the Imperial Medical Academy's chief physician. Soon, the chief physician arrived. Following my instructions, he drew some of Liu Ruyan's blood for careful examination. Moments later, the physician approached Murong Han with a grave expression, bowing. Your Highness, Miss Liu's blood indeed contains chronic poison. This poison is extremely rare and potent. Prolonged consumption could have dire consequences. The physician's words struck Murong Han like thunder. He stared at Liu Ruyan in disbelief, his voice trembling. Ruyan, is the chief physician's assessment true? Have you really been taking chronic poison? Liu Ruyan's face went deathly pale, her entire body shaking, unable to speak. With evidence before them, no amount of denial could help. Why? Murong Han roughly pushed her away, his gaze icy as he stared. Why would you do this? What are you hiding? Liu Ruyan crumpled to her knees, terrified by Murong Han's cold stare. She knew this time she was truly finished. I stood aside, coldly observing everything without comment. This was merely the beginning. I would gradually expose Liu Ruyan's true nature to Murong Han, making him regret his past actions utterly. Just as Liu Ruyan panicked and prepared to confess everything, commotion erupted outside. A guard rushed in, bowing hastily. Your Highness, people claiming to be from Nether Valley have arrived outside, saying they're here to settle accounts with you. Nether Valley? Murong Han frowned. He'd never heard this name. Liu Ruyan's face turned ashen. She recalled Yunshu's earlier words. Nether Valley was one of the few hidden sects possessing such chronic poison. Could this Yunshu be from Nether Valley? My lips curved in an imperceptible smile. Nether Valley's people had finally arrived. Take me to see them, Murong Han commanded grimly. He'd discover what these Nether Valley people wanted. I followed Murong Han and Liu Ruyan to Prince Jing's mansion gates. Outside stood more than a dozen people in azure robes, led by a middle-aged man with steady bearing and sharp eyes. Nether Valley's Grand Elder, Dark Abyss. Seeing me, Dark Abyss's eyes flashed with respect before he turned to Murong Han, his voice ice-cold. Prince Jing. Murong Han, do you acknowledge your crimes? Acknowledge crimes. Murong Han frowned, his tone displeased. I know of no crimes. You Nether Valley people barge into my mansion and speak wildly. What exactly do you want? Barging in, speaking wildly. Dark Abyss laughed coldly. Prince Jing, you murdered our Nether Valley's young mistress and little young master, yet dare claim we're barging in. Today we've come to avenge the young mistress and little young master. Young mistress, little. Murong Han was stunned. When had he killed Nether Valley's young mistress and little young master? Liu Ruyan's heart pounded violently. She pointed trembling fingers at me, shouting, Your Highness, she is from Nether Valley. She said Nether Valley possesses this chronic poison. All eyes focused on me. I slowly approached, looking at Murong Han with icy eyes. Your Highness, do you truly no longer recognize me? As I spoke, I raised my hand and gently removed the mask from my face. A gentle yet infinitely cold countenance appeared before everyone. Qingcheng, seeing my true face, Murong Han's pupils dilated in shock. He stumbled backwards, his voice filled with disbelief. You are not dead." The surrounding guards and servants stared in amazement. Princess Jing Qingcheng had clearly fallen to her death 3 months ago. How could she suddenly appear here? And she was actually Nether Valley's young mistress. Liu Ruyan was terrified beyond measure, collapsing to the ground, mumbling, "Impossible. You are supposed to be dead. How can you be alive?" I looked at Murong Han's shocked expression, my lips curving in mocking amusement. "What is wrong, Your Highness? Are you surprised I am not dead? Or did you simply hope I was?" Qingcheng. Murong Han opened his mouth, wanting to speak, but found himself speechless, looking at the Qingcheng before him, seeing the coldness and hatred in her eyes, his heart filled with guilt and regret. "Murong Han," my voice was ice cold, each word deliberate. "3 months ago, you forced me to jump from that tower and caused Jinner's death. Today, I, Qingcheng, return as Nether Valley's Valley Master to seek justice." Nether Valley's Valley Master? Murong Han was even more shocked. Weren't you of humble origins? How can you be Nether Valley's Valley Master? Humble origins. I couldn't help laughing bitterly. That was merely an identity I fabricated to remain by your side. I, Qingcheng, am the Valley Master of the hidden sect Nether Valley. Years ago, I saved you from mortal danger and devoted my heart to you, willingly concealing my identity to become your ordinary princess consort. I never imagined I'd receive your betrayal and my child's brutal death in return. I pointed at Liu Ruyan kneeling on the ground. "This woman envied and framed me, murdered Jinner. And you, Murong Han, as my husband and Jinner's father, not only refused to believe me but helped her pressure me. Tell me, don't you deserve to die?" Murong Han's face turned paper white, his body trembling uncontrollably. He finally understood the magnitude of his mistakes. He'd personally forced his devoted wife to death, killed his own flesh and blood, all while being deceived by an evil woman for so long. "Qingcheng, I am sorry. I know I was wrong. Please forgive me, won't you?" Murong Han approached me, trying to grasp my hand, his voice full of regret and pleading. I stepped back sharply, avoiding his touch, my eyes cold as I stared at him. "Forgive you, Murong Han. Do you think that is possible? Jinner's life, my true heart. You've destroyed everything. What use are your apologies now? I can compensate you. I can avenge Jinner. I can kill Liu Ruyan," Murong Han said urgently, his gaze turning toward the kneeling Liu Ruyan with murderous intent. Liu Ruyan was terrified beyond reason, crawling to my feet and kowtowing repeatedly. "Sister Qingcheng, I was wrong. I shouldn't have harmed Jinner, shouldn't have framed you. Please spare me, I'll never dare again." I looked at her pitiful state without an ounce of mercy. "Spare you? When you killed Jinner, did you think of sparing him? When you framed me, did you imagine this day would come?" I turned to Dark Abyss, commanding coldly, "Grand Elder, take her away and deal with her." Dark Abyss nodded, immediately ordering men to drag Liu Ruyan away. Ruyan's screams grew more distant until they vanished completely. Murong Han watched this unfold with growing terror. He knew Qingcheng would never forgive him this time. Nether Valley's power was mysterious and formidable. He was utterly outmatched. Qingcheng, I know my actions are unforgivable. Murong Han's voice was heavy, but I hope you'll give me a chance at redemption. I am willing to renounce my princely title and spend my life guarding Jinner's grave in atonement. I laughed coldly. Murong Han, you think renouncing a title and guarding Jinner's grave can erase everything you've done? How naive. I paused, my voice growing even icier. I don't want your atonement. I want you to experience the pain I've endured. From today forth, Nether Valley stands in eternal opposition to Prince Jing's mansion. I'll use all our resources to drag you from your heights, leave you utterly ruined and with nothing. Without another glance at Murong Han's anguish-filled face, I turned and left. Darkabis and the other Nether Valley disciples immediately followed. Murong Han stood frozen, watching my departing figure, his heart filled with despair. He knew Qingcheng meant every word. Nether Valley possessed sufficient power to destroy everything he owned, and all of this was his own making. Returning to Nether Valley's branch in the capital, Darkabis reported recent developments. Valley Master, we've confirmed that Liu Ruyan had a mysterious backer, someone connected to the second prince. The second prince? I frowned. Second Prince Murong was Murong Han's brother, constantly at odds with him, whilst secretly competing for the throne. Had Liu Ruyan actually been collaborating with the second prince? Yes. Valley Master, Darkabis nodded. We discovered the chronic poison Liu Ruyan consumed was provided by the second prince's people. Moreover, Jinna's death might also involve the second prince. He wanted to use Liu Ruyan to frame you and the prince, then reap the benefits. So, that was it. I'd thought Liu Ruyan merely envied me out of simple jealousy, never suspecting she'd become entangled in princely succession struggles. Excellent. My lips curved in an icy smile. If the second prince wants to play games, I'll play along to the very end. Neither Murong Han nor Murong will escape. In the following days, I mobilized Nether Valley's resources for a systematic campaign. First, I had evidence of Liu Ruyan's collaboration with the second prince quietly delivered to the emperor. The emperor had already noticed the brothers' rivalry, and seeing proof, flew into a towering rage, ordering immediate investigation. Learning his scheme was exposed, the second prince panicked and attempted rebellion, only to be crushed by my strategically placed Nether Valley disciples working with the emperor's imperial guards. Ultimately, the second prince was stripped of his title and imprisoned in his mansion for life. Murong Han, implicated through Liu Ruyan and the second prince's conspiracy, had his princely rank revoked by the emperor and was reduced to commoner status. The once glorious Prince Jing's mansion became utterly deserted overnight. Having lost everything, Murong Han became a penniless nobody. Daily, he kept vigil at Jinner's grave, neither eating nor drinking, growing ever more haggard. When someone reported Murong Han's condition to me, asking if I wished to visit, I replied coldly, whether he lives or dies is no concern of mine. For someone who hurt me and my child, I harbor no sympathy. Everything he suffers today is richly deserved. After dealing with Murong Han and the second prince, I didn't stop there. Using Nether Valley's influence, I established numerous medical clinics and businesses throughout the capital, helping common people whilst building my reputation. Simultaneously, I began cultivating my own power base for Nether Valley's development. During this process, I encountered a man named Chu Xuan, a general defending the frontier. He possessed steady character, fought bravely, conducted himself righteously, and showed considerable interest in me. Learning of my experiences, Chu Xuan didn't mock me but admired me even more. He repeatedly assisted me during difficulties, and gradually I developed feelings for him as well. Having endured one failed romance, my emotional wounds ran too deep to easily trust another. Qingcheng seemed to understand my reservations. He never pressured me, simply staying quietly by my side, proving his sincerity through actions. One day, I came to Jinner's grave carrying fresh flowers. Murong Han still kept his vigil there. He'd become skeletal, his hair completely white. Seeing me approach, he raised his head, his eyes vacant as he stared. "Qingcheng, you've come." I said nothing, simply gazing quietly at Jinner's headstone. "Qingcheng, I know I was wrong, truly wrong." Murong Han kowtowed repeatedly, his forehead bleeding from the impacts. "I don't seek forgiveness. I only beg for redemption, to serve as your ox and horse. Even death would be willing." I watched his abject state with perfect emotional detachment. "Murong Han, whether you seek redemption changes nothing. Jinner won't return to life, and the harm I suffered won't disappear. Your best redemption is living well, witnessing firsthand that I am better off than you, happier than you." I turned and walked away. Qingcheng stood waiting not far off. Seeing me approach, he stepped forward quickly, offering a clean handkerchief. "Wipe your face, the wind's strong." I accepted the handkerchief, cleaning dust from my face, then looked up at Qingcheng with a gentle smile. "Thank you, Brother Chu." Qingcheng gazed at my smile, his eyes tender. "No need for thanks as long as you are happy." Sunlight filtered through leaves, falling warmly upon us. I knew past wounds wouldn't heal easily, but I also knew I couldn't live forever in yesterday's shadows. Qingcheng's arrival was like light illuminating my darkened world. Perhaps I could try releasing the past and beginning anew. I turned toward Qingcheng with determined eyes. "Brother Chu, would you accompany me to see Nether Valley's scenery?" Qingcheng paused momentarily, then broke into a brilliant smile. "I am willing. Wherever you go, I'll gladly accompany you." We smiled at each other and walked side by side toward the distance. Behind us, Murong Han's weeping grew fainter and fainter, and I never looked back. Those betrayals and wounds, that pain and despair, all had become the past. From now on, I would live for myself, for those who loved me. Half a year later, Qingcheng and I held a simple yet grand wedding ceremony at Nether Valley. Master personally presided over the ceremony, whilst everyone in Nether Valley offered their blessings. Qingcheng cherished me completely, never questioning my past but wholeheartedly accompanying my present. Under his loving care, the ice in my heart gradually melted, and I relearned how to smile, how to love. A year later, I bore Qingcheng a healthy daughter. We named her Chu Yao. Little Yaoer was adorable as carved jade, her smile particularly sweet. Whenever I looked at her, the gloom in my heart would vanish completely. Sometimes, holding Yaoer, I would think of Jinner. I knew that Jinner's spirit, if it existed, would want his mother to be happy. I would live well, carrying my memories of him whilst cherishing everything I now possessed. Under my governance, Nether Valley flourished daily, not only gaining fame in the martial world, but earning court recognition. Our medical clinics spread everywhere, saving countless lives whilst earning widespread praise from the people. As for Murong Han, they say he still guards Jinner's grave. His hair has turned completely white, his whole person like a walking corpse. People urged him to leave, but he shook his head, saying, "This is what I deserve to endure. I'll keep watch here for life, atoning for my sins." I occasionally heard news about him, but my heart remained unmoved. His life or death truly held no relevance for me anymore. Today, I stood on Nether Valley's peak holding Yawa, gazing at distant mountains like dark ink and drifting white clouds. Chu Xuan approached, embracing both Yawa and me. "What are you thinking about?" he asked gently. "About fate." I leaned against his shoulder. Previously, I believed true hearts could meet true hearts, not knowing how treacherous human nature could be. Now I understand that only sufficient strength can protect those we wish to protect. And now, Chu Xuan gently stroked my hair. I looked at sleeping Yawer in my arms, my lips forming a satisfied smile. Now, I am very happy. I have a loving husband, an adorable daughter, and mighty Nether Valley as support. Those who once hurt me have all received their just deserts. Chu Xuan softly kissed my forehead. "Whatever happens, I'll always be by your side." I closed my eyes, enjoying this long-lost. "Jiner, Mother is doing well now. Be good in heaven, and wait for Mother to join you. But not now. Mother must still accompany Father and little sister, and make Nether Valley flourish." The mountain breeze blew gently, carrying flower fragrance and hope alike. Me revenge as Qingcheng was complete. My new life was just beginning. Those who betrayed me would live forever in regret, whilst I would bloom anew in this beautiful existence. As the sun set, our family of 3 cast long shadows across the peak, stretching toward the distance where our bright future awaited.